Hi everyone. So today I wanted to go through Xero, probably a lot more practical than what I do in my other videos. And the reason why I wanted to do this is I have spoken to a lot of new CFOs in the startup world, and generally, if they have moved sideways, so they're coming from banking or audit or a large entity. Xero is a bit of a new piece of kit, and really it is a very easy software to navigate. But I thought I would just spend, say, 10 minutes very quickly going through Xero and just showing you the things that you need to understand as a finance leader. So my name's Alysha Randall. I am a fractional CFO, and I also train new and aspiring finance directors within the startup or scale up space. So I've just created a test company in Xero just because you get a 30-day free trial. And I thought I can't really show you any of my clients' Xero's accounts. It's a very quick way of losing all my clients. So anyway, so this is the dashboard that you would get when you're logging in. Now, generally all of your bank accounts would be linked. That's one of the first things you do. So if starting with a company, and they already have Xero, then this would already be set up. But essentially all of your bank feeds would feed in through here. Most banks can be linked automatically. There are a few, particularly if they're a savings only type company, you do have to upload still a CSV file. But apart from that, all of that would link through. Similarly, if you're in the UK, VAT and GST in Australia and New Zealand also links through. So it's in the UK, this is automatically connected to the HMRC, to the tax department. So you get all that visibility here. And so you can, of course, change your dashboard, but generally you want the banks in there, invoices, bills, and VAT. That's usually how I have it as visibility. So just to do the very basic bookkeeping, if you have a bank account, it will tell you how many unreconciled items there are. You just click on that, and then you either match it with something you've already raised or you create a journal entry. It's quite straightforward. If the match is already there, you can click on that. If the match isn't there, there will be just a little button below. It says more details. You go through there and you do what you need to do. Similarly, raising invoices and bills to pay are very straightforward. So the kind of the financial operational element is within here. So people can put expense claims straight through to Xero, but most startup scale-ups, they just have cards that people use. Again, most cards feed into here, like Amex, Pleo, Spendesk, all those. And then invoices, this means sales invoices, and bills to pay is your expenses. So like everything else, it's quite straightforward. You just this is a sales invoice, so you just put in the business, or the new one, or what have you. I'll do a May one. Plus 30 means it's the due date. Sale 500. It will automatically choose a code, but of course you can choose the codes, but you need to set those up, which I'll show you in a second. These are the default chart of accounts that you get. It's unlike an ERP where you have to set it up to start with. Xero is based for really small businesses, so a lot of it is already there already, and then it'll choose a tax code. Again, you either set these up. These are the automatic ones because I've said it's a UK entity, and it will tell you whether it's tax exclusive or inclusive, and then you can just approve that one. So very straightforward. And then expenses are exactly the same. It's just bills to pay. Same. So I'm obviously just bills to pay. Hang on, let me just go to sometimes it's there, sometimes not. So on the dashboard, oh yeah, new bill, there we go. And so you can say, I don't know, Google plus 10 or 14, say. You can put a PO reference. Here is where you upload your invoice. So either you're using Dext or something like this that automatically uploads it. If you're doing it manually, that's where you would upload it. But most businesses now have the accounts payable function automatic. If there's quantity, you know, items and quantity, you can set those up, but most businesses I work for aren't. And I think there's just that one marketing one. Yeah. And then they don't. So know that and then approve. So very straightforward. That's kind of your 101. Within here, accounting, this is where you would set up your bank accounts, where you'd run reports. It's probably this, and this is probably the thing I use the most. These reports are the ones that have been starred, so easy access, so you can change that, your VAT return, and then you've got your chart of accounts and fixed assets. So within fixed assets, you just create a new asset within here. So, and then once you've done that, so I'll just say then. So there's no obviously assets. So then you can register an asset. So within here, then you would say what it is, when you purchased it, the asset type. So it'd be account, you know, computer or what have you, your depreciation start date, which method you're using. So usually it's straight line, and then usually the effective date. So it might be 3 years, for example. And then once you've done that, then you can just run, there'll be another button here that says run depreciation, and that's it. So it's very easy. You don't have to do depreciation in Excel. Chart of accounts. This is, so as I said, these are the default chart of accounts. And you can see that they're given categories. So revenue, direct costs, overheads, and then you have your balance sheet items, current liability, non-current liability, equity, fixed asset, and current asset. Generally, what I do to change these, and we do go through this in quite a bit of detail in our Financial Leadership Foundations program, is I export this and then work out what I want my P&L balance sheet to look like. And then I can work out what account codes I want to put in there and what type they are. So, but it's very easy. You just add your account. And if the account's already there, so for example, let's do revenue 200 because we know it's already there. Revenue, and we say 200. And here you can say it's not available. So then you're never going to have multiple ones. Okay, payroll I'm not going to go through just because it depends on what region you are. I think payroll in Xero is good if you have less than 20 employees. Anything more than that, I would recommend using an add-on that feeds into Xero, because you just don't get the visibility and flexibility that you can in other softwares. So great if you only have a couple of employees, but if you're a finance leader, head of finance, you probably have more than, or a CFO, you probably have more. Okay, so the last bit projects I don't really use, but that is kind of like your cost centers. You can put in tracking codes in there. I do use it with a couple of clients. It's, you know, it's just an extra step. And then, as I said, in advance, there's one thing here in here that I like to change. So that's where you have your chart of accounts. That's where you set everything up. So you're tracking categories, your tax rates, the financial settings, and fixed assets. But I will say in financial settings, you can see you have your VAT scheme in there, all your defaults. But here you can lock a period. I haven't set it up for, but usually there is a date here that you can change. So when your month end is finished, particularly if you have automated accounts payable, make sure that your financial controller or yourself locks this, because otherwise the automatic AP, if an invoice comes in for a prior period, it will post it into Xero and it will just mess up your month end. So make sure you lock dates regularly. And then finally, reporting. So this is where I would spend most of my time if I'm ever going into Xero, and it would be a balance sheet or P&L. And then you can see it has all of the other reports like, you know, aged payables, aged receivables, all of those. So if we just have a quick look at our P&L. So obviously I've only entered in a couple of items. You saw me enter in one. So this would be, the default is always the financial year, which is a little bit annoying. But generally you have to change the month. You know, you can say this month or last month. And I suppose last month is very common because you're doing month end or reviewing month end. So I would always do the drop down and change it. And then you can see how many months you want to compare. Now, I don't have very much data in there at all, but you can see then that it has however many periods. So you can even enter a different number. You can say 10, for example, and you can get a whole heap. You can look at that quarterly and an annual comparison as well. So it's quite easy. And then essentially anything that's in blue, then you can just click into it and then you get the overview of what's being going into it. So you can see there's just that one receivable invoice, and then you can click on that and you know, it's easy enough. You can also use the back. It'll always go back to what you were before. And yes, I will say the default P&L and balance sheet is very much you have your turnover, your cost of sales and gross profit, and then all expenses in alphabetical order. So generally I use reporting software. You can check out our tech stack recommendations that feeds off Xero so that you don't really need to set up any reporting here. But if you want to, you can. So you can see here it says edit layout, and you can click on that and then move things around, add in rows, add in different formulas, and you can just play around with this to make it make sense. And then you can save that as a customized report. So, you know, it's just a matter of playing around with it. If you're ever stuck, just go to Xero, and I have plenty of videos on how to do that. And the only other things worth saying is, I can see that's not available here, but that's probably because I'm on the test version. Under accounting at the bottom, it will also have manual journals. So that's where all of, you know, your prepayments, your accruals, all those kind of things, you would just click on manual payments, and it will, you know, just allow you to do journals. You can do recurring journals as well, which is useful. But that's really all as I said, that's all I really use it for. I thought, as I said, there are a lot of people that are very new to Xero, particularly moving industry. End of this month, for example. So again, this is the balance sheet, same thing, very basic structure, but you can drill down and everything. You can have comparison periods, what have you. But yeah, I mean, that's all I really use it for, is just when I want to see what's included within the amounts, and potentially the cash, having a look at the cash flows, and maybe VAT as well. But that's probably the main. There's not much to it really. So as you can see, it's quite straightforward. Hopefully that's useful for those of you who are new to Xero and have just, or generally if you're new to Xero, you've just moved to the startup scale up world. Yeah, so this is exactly what I talk about, is how you can be a really strong leader within a startup or scale up. All of my videos are geared towards that. So if that sounds like you and you're a new or an aspiring finance leader, or even you're new to startups or scale ups and you've been a finance leader in another industry, then this channel is exactly for you, and as well as our program. So I will leave links below to all of the resources that we have available. I do workshops often. We have guides that you can download that are, you know, what tech stack we use, and as well a leadership guide if you're a new leader that might be interesting for you. So I'll leave that below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see my next video. Cheers.